What's up, guys? Welcome back to Molly Bullies Kennels. I decided to record a quick video for y'all during my lunch break again. And I want to talk about how to breed American Bullies. I want to break down the steps that are needed to breed American Bullies and be as successful as one can. Just a quick disclaimer: do your research, and draw your best conclusion. Do whatever works for you, whatever works for your program and your female, to attain the best results that you want to attain. So let's get started. Before we get started, I want to also talk about something. I want to talk about so the only breeds that I have experienced with are pocket bullies, micro bullies, and Doberman pinchers. Out of that breed, I have not experienced with any other breeds. So I'm specifically going to talk about just American Bully, specifically pockets and micros. So before we get into the subject of breeding, I want to talk about choosing a stud. It's very important to choose a stud, I think, because a stud is what's going to complement your female. A stud is what's going to elevate your program. A stud is what's going to make you money. And a stud is what's going to make you known. So you want to pick the best stud possible that you can. You want to pick a stud that complements your female in any way. You want to choose a stud that might add girth, bone, a top line, headpiece, color, structure, and all of the above. So you want to choose a good stud before your female comes into heat. Or you don't necessarily have to lock in a stud, but look at different social medias, at different pages of camps, and choose a stud that you like. Choose a stud and study his pedigree. Not just because he looks good, but you also want to look at his sire and his grandsire. This goes as well as his mom's side, his dad and his grandmother. You want to once you have a stud in mind, then you can go into the next phase, which is breeding. So let's talk about breeding. How do we breed an American Bully and be successful about it? Well, first off, what you want to do when she comes into heat, you're going to start noticing that she is bleeding. And what I like to do is I like to count her days that she bleeds from day 1 and onward. So when it's close to her coming into season, I like to keep my bullies in a rather large kennel. I use 4x8s. I like to keep them in there. Of course, I let them out to play, but then I put them back in there. And the reason I do this is because whenever they start bleeding, it's gonna be easier for me to detect when they start bleeding. And if I was to leave them out on the yard all day, it's harder for me to detect that they're bleeding. So for this reason, I leave them in the kennels. And it's a lot easier on me. Okay, so once your female starts bleeding, you want to get a progesterone test on her. But you want to time this right. Now, I'm going to talk about the right way to time it. I would say, based on different sources that I have read that you want to wait about maybe 8 days. You know, some people may say less, some people may say more to save money, but I would say at least 8 days. Now, on the 8th day of her bleeding, you want to get her a progesterone test. Now, what is progesterone for those of y'all who don't know? Progesterone is a hormone that the ovaries produce when a female is in season. Now, as the days go by and she advances in this phase, or in this period of coming in heat, the progesterone elevates. The progesterone elevates. Usually about around day 7 or 8, you want to test her. You want to see if she's ovulating. Because usually around, I want to say anywhere from day 5 to 8, she'll be close to ovulation, or she would be ovulating. Now, every female is different. I know this. Some females ovulate faster, way faster than others, or other females take longer to ovulate than others. But that's usually the typical female. She's going to ovulate around between a 5 or a 8, depending on the machine that you use to read her progesterone. I know there's a lot of different machines nowadays. Just to name a few, I know there's IDEX, I know there's FindCare, Minivitis, and I'm sure there's more, but those are the 3 that I'm aware about. So once you test her for her progesterone and she's ovulating, let's say she's ovulating and she's at an 8. So what you want to do now is you want to let at least 2 to 4 days go by, so that way her eggs will mature. You know, that way her eggs will mature, because her eggs, if you were to breed her on her ovulation, there's a big chance that she's not going to take, because her eggs don't have that maturity yet to be fertilized. So when she ovulates, you want to wait at least 2 to 4 days to breed her. Now, this may not always be the case, because, I mean, depending on the method that one uses, artificial insemination or surgical, her progesterone has to be in certain levels. You know, for artificial insemination, you wanna do this at about a 15. Whenever she reaches a 15, it's an ideal time to do an artificial insemination. At least twice. Now if you want to do a surgical, this is where you want to get higher numbers. Usually a surgical is always left as a last resort. When you're late in your PGs, when she skyrockets up to like a 30, you do a surgical. But that's not always the case, because I did see a video, and they stated that once your female ovulates, wait 2 to 4 days, and in that window of the 2 to 4 days, you should breed her. Now, talking from personal experience, my female, I did a progesterone test on day, I want to say it was day 12. And, you know, you could probably think that she would probably be like around a 20, because that's pretty up there. And she was at a 14. Okay, so maybe maybe one would say, well, you can do an artificial insemination. She's close to a 15. That number is close to perfect. She should be fine. Well, I didn't do an artificial insemination. I did a surgical insemination. Usually surgicals, you want to get minimum 25 and up. That's personally, that's what I think, at least a 25 and up, because surgical is usually left as a last resort. You know, you plan on doing AIs, but she skyrockets up to a 30. Do a surgical. Do a surgical or a transcervical. Now, I have never done transcervicals. I have only done artificial inseminations and surgicals. So I did a surgical on my female. She was at a 14 the same day that I did a surgical. And she took. To me, it was a leap of faith, because I have never bred a female with low numbers and I have never done a surgical on a female with low numbers, on AI numbers. So it was a leap of faith, and she took. And now I can see that, you know, going back to this video kind of makes sense, because I did a progesterone on her on a Tuesday, she was at a 4. So I would say either Wednesday or Thursday she ovulated. Let's say she ovulated Thursday. Now from Thursday to Saturday is 2 days, and I did the surgical. I would say it's enough time for her eggs to drop and mature and be fertilized, and she took. So what I'm saying is, if you want to breed successfully, you're going to have to do trial and error. Because one never knows if your female is going to take. Now, you can rely on numbers, or you can rely on ovulation. You know, once your female ovulates, wait 2 to 4 days for those eggs to mature, and then breed her. And then hope for the best. Now, artificial insemination, I don't really rely too much on artificial insemination, because I've done artificial inseminations back in the past on 3 of my females. None of them took. They were on right numbers. They were close to a 15. They didn't take. Now I did surgicals also on 3 of my females as well, after the AIs. On those same females that didn't take the first time with the AIs. All 3 of my surgicals took. My first 2 females were about at least above a 30, and I did the surgical and they took. Now my last female was at a 14. She was at a 14. She was at considered a really low number. And she took. I waited 2 days. Because remember, she ovulated, let's say Thursday, and then Saturday I did a surgical and she took. But that Saturday I did a PG test on her and she was at a 14. So what's the right way to breed American Bullies? Well, in my opinion, there is no right way. There is no right way to breed American Bullies. It's all based on trial and error. And, you know, I think that it's a learning experience. I don't think you can just breed your first American Bully and be 100% successful. You know, there's a lot of reasons. Sometimes it's your female that you can be doing everything right, and it's your female that she can't sustain the pregnancy. Or, you know, or sometimes it's the stud. Sometimes it's a stud, or sometimes it's just nature. You know, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. But you know, it's all trial and error, and just do the best that you can. Do the best that you can, and do your research. Do your research, and draw your best conclusion from that, and just hope for the best. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all enjoyed it in some way. Please like and subscribe if you like the material, and expect more content in the near future. See y'all guys later.